Hi, everyone. Welcome to New Year, New Vision. It's a way to achieve results, but with more ease and joy, which I know I could often use more of. So before we get started, I wanted to make sure that you have the play sheets that will go along with our webinar today. Marissa, do you have that and can you add that to the chat?
I just
Great.
added it to the chat right now.
Thank you. This is different than if you received the prep sheet. They're related, but it'll be good to have that as well. So with that said, just wanted to introduce myself, Rosie Guagliardo. I'm the founder of Inner Brilliance Coaching, and I've loved being a certified life and career coach since 2007 and a member of Forbes's Coaches Council. I'm also a contributing author to a book entitled Turning Point Moments, which actually became an Amazon bestseller. It was pretty exciting. And previously, I was in marketing and advertising for 18 years, working closely with companies such as McDonald's, Anheuser-Busch, and Unilever. And these days, I combine all of my learnings from my ad experience, my coaching certifications, along with my Northwestern Psych degree to support high achieving people discover an easier way of living where they can actually experience results better than they imagined and while they flow through their day, but with a lot more joy and ease, as I said earlier. And that's what I want for you. So, just a little bit more background on my approach. I have a proprietary energy mastery method that I've used for decades to support my clients, and that's woven in what we're about to review. So, I'm excited to talk with you about how to experience all that you desire in your life and starting with this new approach. So, let's start with what typically happens this time of year. I know I used to love the feeling of the new year, or even when it was my birthday or something that feels like a new beginning. I always got inspired by a fresh start. And in particular, I know I think about, oh, I'm going to set new goals and I'm really going to make changes in my life. For example, every year I used to make a New Year's resolution to lose 10 pounds. And every year it didn't happen. If there was a piece of chocolate cake in front of me, I thought I would enjoy that cake today. I will lose the 10 pounds tomorrow. It's as if I thought that the motivation I needed would suddenly or magically appear. So every year, if I was being honest, I ended up feeling frustrated and like I was forcing myself to take action. And that could happen in my personal and professional life. Then I discovered a new way to set goals, which I'm about to share with you. But before we dive into that approach, I just love to look at how you plan for the new year or in general, how you plan for goals. So if you could just write in the chat, I'm going to share some different ways people might approach goal setting. And if you just want to write a 1, 2, 3, or 4 to correspond with what I'm sharing. Basically, when it comes to planning for the new year or in general, whenever you're setting goals, which of these challenges would you say applies to you? Is it one, you have a hard time setting goals, meaning maybe you think about it, but you're always waiting for a better way, or you're just thinking, I don't feel like it? Is it two, you're good at setting the goals, but maybe not on following through, right? Maybe you don't feel like you have the tools or the resources or the motivation. Or is it three, you're not enjoying your day to day as you go for your goals? So you've set them, you're following through, and you're drained, exhausted, burnt out. Actually, recently when I've been asking this question, I've added a fourth one. Is it all of the above? Because I know in some cases, in some parts of my life, I might follow through. In some, I don't even want to set them. So be curious. How do you set goals? Okay, 3, 4, 2. Few fours. I'm glad I added that one. 2, yeah. You could set them, but you're not following through. Or yeah, a lot of 2s and 4s. Yep. All of the above. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could say yes, 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 yes. I can relate to all of these. And yeah, I can change direction after sun. Yes, that's a good one too. Yes, these applied to me in my life. So a big one for me was I used to set some in some areas of my life, like I said, or I used to wait to work on some goals I wanted to pursue because I thought, oh, maybe if something changes or I'll get motivated. But I knew I couldn't keep waiting for my circumstances to change or for motivation to suddenly arise before I made any changes. I just knew that way of thinking wasn't serving me. And then I came across this quote that inspired me to think a little bit differently about pursuing my desires and my goals. So I want to share it with you. It is, happiness is to be found along the way, not at the end of the road. For then the journey is over and it's too late. Today, this hour, this minute is the day, the hour, the minute for each of us to sense the fact that life is good, with all of its trials and troubles, and perhaps more interesting because of them. So this quote really helped me to see that focusing on how I want to feel matters. It also helped me to see that I'm responsible for being happy, for noticing it, and creating it. So I shifted my thinking from waiting to be happy until after I achieved a goal or my circumstances changed to allowing happiness and what brings me joy and how I wanted to feel to guide my life. So with that in mind, today I want to share a process to help you figure out that feeling in a more specific way. And if possible, capture it in a mantra or could even be an overarching theme that you'd like to experience in the coming year. And something to be aware of, as human beings, all we really want is to experience a certain emotion. But we tend to get attached to how it has to happen. So we might develop goals that feel more like things we have to do versus what we really want to do. We're getting a little bit attached to how something needs to look. So that's good just to have in the back of your mind. And now, this doesn't mean you don't set goals, right? It just means that you need to make sure that your goals align with how you want to feel. And the amazing part is that you might end up feeling the certain way you wanted throughout the year, but your goals didn't happen. Or you might have experienced what you wanted in a different way than you expected. But who cares if you end up feeling the way you desire, that's a win, right? If you want more peace, more lightness. Again, this doesn't mean you don't need to set goals. The goals can serve as an action plan or a roadmap, but they have to be aligned with your deepest desires to be really motivating and even more importantly, for you to feel fulfilled by the outcome of them. And when I made this switch of starting with this feeling of joy in the moment or what I really wanted to feel, that was the secret for me to actually experiencing the results I desired. I went from someone who was stressing to achieve goals to building a life based on what I loved, which actually led me to getting results I desired, but again, with more ease and grace. And I know that could sound backwards. Feels like we have to do it the other way around. But I'm going to share why embracing this perspective works to get results. And I'm going to start with telling you a little bit about my story, and maybe you could see some similarities in your own life. And ultimately, I hope you'll just notice it doesn't have to feel hard to get what you desire. So similar to maybe many of you, I've always been a really hard worker. And one day I thought all my hard work had paid off. I had gotten married to my best friend. I had a cute condo overlooking the lake, and I had a fun job with working with some big brands. And from the outside, it appeared as if I had achieved the goals I desired. But I found myself feeling exhausted as I just continued to work harder and harder to chase other goals. And I felt like this low level of anxiety as I just tried to get everything done on my to-do list. And almost like life was whizzing past me as I also tried to see friends and support my family and get my work done or go for any of my goals, working out, looking for a job, all of that. Ultimately, it felt like life was happening to me versus through me. And I was always in this reaction mode. And these feelings made me realize I was chasing what I thought I wanted. In other words, what I thought I should do or had to do. There's this terrible joke in coaching that I always use it. Like, we need to stop shoulding on ourselves, right? We don't want to should on ourselves. And I found myself, okay, I have these goals, but I wasn't even excited about them. And if I look deep down, it was because I was basing my happiness on my circumstances or even other people's definition of success. And I was just forcing myself to go for the goal. And at that point, I could see how my life was not in alignment with what I deeply desired or what made me happy or brought me joy. And that feeling of tension and overwhelm made me realize I just needed to change my approach. And that's when I set out on a path to explore how to have a life I love based on more of what I wanted. In other words, what I deeply desired in my heart and what would make me happy. So my first step, again, was to just be honest with myself and understand I could have more of an impact on my happiness than I realized. And this meant I needed to get to know myself better. So I just started by connecting with my truth, honoring my desires more. And that also included minimizing the shoulds and the have-tos. And I stopped living my life based on other people's definition of success or happiness. And that's when the transformation happened. I began making sure that all of my activities aligned with what brought me joy or how I wanted to feel. And then I was able to radiate the real me everywhere I went, focusing on what makes me feel good. And this shift in focus is the key. The shoulds actually start to fall away. And what's left, at least in my case, what was left was me, allowing me to attract and eventually experience what I deeply desire for my life overall in terms of career, relationships, and health. And the difference too, I noticed, was it just felt much more natural and organic. And that's because when you're clear and consistent, meaning, again, you're in alignment with your truth, you start to attract people and situations and opportunities that align with your deepest desires. So maybe you can see some similarities from my story in your own life. And if so, hopefully you can recognize there can be another approach for living life where you can experience what you desire, but with a lot less stress because you're just more you. And what could be easier than being you? Sometimes it's harder than we think. So what we'll do now is go through the process. And again, the process is simple when I lay it out, but again, it can feel a little hard to execute. And I hope the tips and tools I share will help. In fact, what I've tried to do to support my clients is create a whole program, and I call it Be Perfectly You. And it's all about obviously not being perfect, but it's really around helping people understand what they value and what makes them happy, and to set goals and take actions to achieve what they desire. It's really about experience what I like to call aligned success. But before even getting into this action mode, I just noticed it was important to help people understand and start planning either their new year or their efforts overall, again, how they wanted to feel. And I know this can sound woo-woo, but I promise it works, and it's how we operate as humans. So again, I'm going to share some exercises to help you begin this process on your own. You might need to review this recording again to go through it, or if you ended up doing the pre-work, then you might be able to answer some questions along the way. And I'd love to hear your feedback as we're going through it. But if you didn't get a chance to do the pre-work, no worries. You will still get an understanding of the process and I believe have some insights along the way. And at the end, I share some complimentary offers, including if anyone wants to go through this a bit on a quick call, I'm happy to connect with you. So to move forward with our agenda for the rest of our time together, you can go to page 2 of the play sheet if you have it, or we just have it here for you. So for this process to get the best results, it really helps to connect yourself in a loving way. I like to call it to connect with your highest self. Sometimes we talk about it as your best self too. Sometimes that could be a lot of pressure. So then I think of like, okay, me at my highest. And we want to tap into the reflective energy of the year ending, as well as the renewing energy of 2025. What we'll also do is shine a light on how you want to feel, of course, and what you desire, meaning what can make you happy. And we're going to do that more specifically by completing with the past year, so you can create a plan for moving forward that is more informed, more relevant, and more meaningful. And then we'll tune into what can motivate you moving forward. Finally, I'll share how you can create a mantra for your new year so it's easy to remember what you want to experience and feel. Because I think we can do these exercises and then there's all this heaviness around it. And what we want this to be something that's easy to connect with. And the mantra could really help you stay focused, committed, and even excited for what's to come. Because it helps you develop a new vision and a new paradigm for your life. And you get to approach the new year in a whole new way, with a whole new way of planning and goal setting. Which the best part is this approach will inspire you to take more action. And this is usually more inspiring than just picking resolutions you think you should do. And again, you might need more time to do it, but the best part is when you are feeling inspired to take action, you are more likely to get results, right? Because you're doing something. So let's begin the process and talk about how it works. Like I said, you might want to just take a moment to connect with your highest self. And what I mean by that most specifically is that side of you that gives you grace. You know what I'm talking about? That side of you that doesn't bring judgment into the story of what happened or what could have happened. So as you go through this process, be as objective as possible. Try to get in that positive place. And if you need to, you could take some deep breaths. You can just ground yourself. Even putting your feet on the floor can be really helpful to reset your nervous system so you could be present. And I want to remind you there are no right or wrong answers. These questions and exercises are just to bring forth what you want. And remember, the possibilities are endless. And we're here just to begin the dialogue. So hopefully we can have some fun and lighten our loads a little bit. And I know sometimes when we're reviewing the past, there could be heaviness. So we'll talk about that as well. So speaking of, now that we're grounded, this part of the webinar is really about honoring and celebrating the past, again, even if it was a tough situation. Because reviewing the previous year helps with processing and letting go of what happened. We don't want this to get stuck within us or start ruminating. So it's important to take time to complete with the past because it'll put you in a better place for what I actually like to call desired outcomes, similar to goals. And I know we're doing this the third week in January. Some people like to do this at the winter solstice in December. But you really could do it, like I said earlier, anytime you want to renew, like it could be your birthday. Honestly, many of my clients and I enjoy doing this review later in January, and some even do it in February. But I suggest that because we come out of the holidays and there's just so much that we're trying to catch up on. So again, give yourself grace. Take the time to really be able to explore and look at the full year. Think if you do it at the winter solstice, sometimes I'm like, well, what's going to happen in the last few weeks? So that could be helpful. And during this particular section of celebrating the past, we're going to break it down into 3 parts. The first is processing your experiences. The second is honoring yourself and your situations. And the third is completing with your past and deepening your learnings. Remember, this is the time to set the stage to call forth all that you desire and all that you want to create in the new year. So first, to help you complete with your past, we need to process those experiences, like I said. So if you have your pre-work handy, you might just want to grab that and have it with you. If you didn't get a chance to do it, again, no problem. You can just go to page 3 or 4 of the current play sheet you have. And on top of page 3, you'll say it says a little loving prep, and page 4 says let's celebrate the past. So when you're going through this process, as I mentioned in the pre-work, you just want to have your calendar nearby. You can go through it from week to week and answer these questions as you go through it. Some people just like to do it. Look at the month overall. I recently heard someone said they looked through their phone for the last year of like all the pictures they had, which I have so many that might take too long. But I also just like to look at my calendar because it's just more informative for me. But I thought the photos was a nice idea too. So for today, I'll quickly share the questions that you can consider to remind yourself of what happened. But remember, we're looking at this with the intention of knowing that you can always learn from the past. This is not about judgment. Okay, so first question. Ask yourself, and you can jot down any high-level thoughts that come to you if you didn't do the pre-work in that one page in the play sheet. First question, what desired outcomes did you achieve? And which ones did you feel good about? Number 2, what desired outcomes exist that didn't achieve, right? What goals did you put out there that maybe you didn't get to? Again, this is all about learning from the past, not judging yourself. Number 3, what happened that you didn't expect? And number 4, what lessons did you learn? So you can see, generally speaking, what we're doing, these questions consist of reviewing accomplishments, maybe even failures. I don't like to use the F word because I think it's just about exploring what happened or didn't happen. These questions are about any surprises, and then most importantly, any learnings you experienced in the past year. Because it just helps to be aware of what worked and what didn't work in the past so that you can determine how you want the next phase of your life to unfold. And again, how you want to feel. So, we need more time for this, but I just wanted you to hear that process. Even if you've been through this before, I think it always helps to kind of review this process. And you could use page 4 of your handout, like I said earlier, to capture the answers. If you don't even need to use the play sheet. If you just have a piece of paper, I recommend if you could put them, all 4 answers to each question on one page, because it's interesting to see all the answers on one sheet and see all the information in one place. With that in mind, I want to go a little bit deeper into this first exercise that's going to help you eventually get to your mantra. Because when we go over them individually, you can see how the answers can guide you towards moving forward. And really what I'm going to share are just tips you can use overall in your life in general. So if you did do the pre-work as we're going through this, you can just consider any new insights as we explore these tips with your answers. You can align that. And then if you didn't, you might just want to take some notes as we're going through the process, and then they could trigger reminders. But I'm excited to share these because I think, again, it'll be helpful for your life overall to process it. So when we're thinking about desired outcomes or goals you did achieve, when you consider them, I'd like you to ask yourself, which ones are you most proud of? So maybe you achieved a lot, or maybe you've only achieved a few. it could be interesting just to hone in on which ones you're most proud of, because that'll give you some clues about what matters to you and what's really important. Also, ask yourself, how did you celebrate them? And even if you didn't celebrate these wins, is there a way to celebrate them now, even something small? And this really matters. This is based on neuroscience. Celebrating your wins helps to integrate the benefits and learnings of the good moments in your life into your subconscious mind, which influences 96% of your behavior. And this celebration can also increase your set point of happiness. Many of you probably know this already, but our minds tend to look at what we didn't do or what didn't go right. So we have to use our conscious mind and effort to focus on what did happen, what went well, and the celebration helps to deepen that for you. So that's a first tip. Next, when you think of any goals that you didn't achieve, I invite you to look at yourself and really question, did I really want this? Were they shoulds? And maybe they were, that's okay. But I just want you to tune in. Was I going forward with something because I thought I had to do it? Or maybe there was a gift from not achieving a certain goal. Maybe you avoided a terrible situation in the future. Let's say it didn't work out with your significant other, or you didn't get that job you thought you desired. And then you hear someone else did and they hate that job, right? These things can happen. So maybe you avoided a bigger mishap down the road. And I like to remember this idea, this phrase really helps me out. Rejection is redirection. And it can help shift your focus where it should be. If I don't get something I want, the old me would get frustrated, the tight grip would come out. But now, just like it helps me to realize maybe there's something different or even better out there for me. So for this section, when you have more time, you might just want to take a moment to list any redirections in your life that may have happened. Maybe you thought you'd be closer to a certain friend and you're not, but you're noticing like, maybe we don't click and it's better to move on. Now, third section is for unexpected outcomes or what happened that you didn't expect. It can be helpful to reflect on surprises. And as I mentioned earlier, some could be upsetting, like perhaps someone might have passed away or you lost a connection. But some might be happy. Maybe you achieved something beyond what you expected. And I say this is really helpful to explore because you can start to see how were you being in these unexpected situations. You might have noticed that you were actually able to be with the unknown. I know so many of us can feel scared about the unknown and ambiguity, but you might realize you're more resilient than you could have imagined. And I've seen this so much with my clients, and it really was apparent when it came to COVID. It was so impressive. I was obviously meeting with my clients, but connecting with former clients as we were just checking in on each other. And all of them were saying how they were using their coaching tools to not only survive, but even thrive during that time. So again, you might surprise yourself, what's possible. Now for the section on lessons you learned from your successes, failures, and surprises, I want to make sure that's clear, right? You answer those first three questions, then you look at, okay, what did I learn from all of this? And you might be able to reflect even more deeply on your learnings. And I have this as a separate section, even though you're probably picking up learnings as you're going, because people think we learn from our experiences, right? They think, oh, I'm just going out living life and okay, I'm learned from it. But we actually learn from the reflection on our experiences. So it's really important to do that. And I know, for example, when I've gone through this process, at one point I deepened a learning about how I take action. And I realized it's inspiring and I could really learn from the actions I took versus just thinking about doing something. I know that sounds obvious, right? Of course you can gain more from taking action than just thinking about it. But I needed to go through this process. And I remember when I had done this, I do this every year. At one point, I felt like I was behind in some projects I wanted to do for my business. But when I had this reflection moment, I actually started a lot of things I wanted to do. And this was a couple years ago. I was thinking about this, how I contributed to that book. And I created a fun text challenge and thought, oh, wait, okay, maybe I didn't achieve everything, but I was taking action and things were in process and motion. So this reflection can help you see things like that. Okay, so now that we've considered what happened last year, we're going to start completing with the past. So for this part, you can move to page 5 of the play sheet, and it should say at the top, let's celebrate plus honor 2024 at the top of it. And this will take you to the next step. This is where you can ask yourself, what were you grateful for as you pursued your desired outcomes? And you can also answer some of this on page 6 of the play sheet. Sorry, I have a sheet in there. I was trying to make the play sheet as user-friendly as possible. So there's a bunch of these questions already on there, and I think they're on page 5. But page 6 is where you can jot down the answers, where it says, let's honor and complete the past. But as many of us know these days, being grateful is a really wonderful way to feel good. I love it. It's so commonplace now. We know this. Now, just thinking about something that you're grateful for activates a part in your brain that releases chemicals that make you feel good. So how wonderful is that? You could just say, okay, I'm feel grateful for a cozy home. And just considering that helps you feel better. Being more specific about what you're grateful for and why can deepen the benefits in your subconscious mind. And I want to make sure you know that, because a lot of times people just say it and then move on. But the more you can be specific, understand the why, and even feel the feeling in your body, you're going to really deepen the benefits. So this is my favorite. In addition to what you're grateful for, it's also important to ask yourself, what do I want to thank myself for? How many of us do that? We're so used to thanking everyone else. Excuse me. And it's wonderful. We're lucky if we can look outside of ourselves and think about others. But how much time are you focusing on what you've done and how you've shown up in a positive way? So this is what I'd love for you to think about. And if anyone's willing to share, I'd love to hear it. But what can you acknowledge yourself for or thank yourself for as you attained results? Or even as you went through something that was a surprise that you didn't expect. And like I mentioned earlier, our minds are going to go to what we didn't do. So we need to use our conscious mind to reinforce what we did do, how we did succeed, how we grew, how we learned. And the acknowledgement can be something you actually did. I think it's even more powerful if it's who you were being. Like, oh, I tried this new program. Who you were being might be, I was courageous. In fact, sometimes I found it difficult to remember to practice gratitude, and I write reminders and whatnot. So what I really like doing is actually trying to practice it throughout your day so that you're just walking through the streets and it's really helpful. So anyone have anything they want to share? I can share an example, but it'd be fun to hear yours. Carmelita, going the extra mile, whether it turned out the way you wanted or not. Such a good point. Focus on the effort, the process, not the outcome. Love that. Anyone else? I'll share one of mine, and then if others come up, I'd love to hear. I think I mentioned this a minute ago. I just created this feminine energy challenge. It was this program I loved. And back in the day, I would have been very linear and created the whole program before sharing it. I promised it to some clients. I started sharing it as I went, as I created it. And now I have this whole program that's complete and people love it. And now they can embrace their feminine like I did, because that's what you do is being a little bit more circuitous. Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear anyone else. Going out of your comfort zone. Yes, Marta. Susie, you had a couple of challenging situations with your family that brought up some painful childhood memories. I'm so sorry. But you're proud of yourself for allowing yourself to feel the feelings. Yes, without getting derailed. Right. So powerful. Sticking to your gym routine and really seeing results, but more so just showing up for my, yes, right? That's great. I love that. Reaching out to people when I'd rather sit at home in my PJs. Yes, totally. I think some people are smiling at that one. I think we can relate to that. Thank you for sharing. It's really great. And keep jotting down, but we'll keep moving forward. Hopefully you can see that feels good, doesn't it? To thank yourself too. All right. So to finally complete with the past, we can go a little bit deeper and identify any themes or patterns you notice across all of the topics we just reviewed. So it's the gratitude, the acknowledgments we just talked about, but also right before that, the celebrations, the redirection, the being with the unknown, and the deeper reflections. So you see how we keep building, right? We ask original questions, then we're asking deeper questions. Then we're looking, checking in, any themes or patterns here. And when you start noticing the themes or the patterns, why don't you just keep them in mind as we keep going through the process. Obviously, jot any down that you can remember or think of now, but when you go through the process on your own, it'll be really helpful to have those. And I've added this additional component because I really liked it. And to make the most of your reflections, you might also want to think about, okay, what were the positive experiences I had and which ones were not so positive, or let's say negative? And just notice any people or activities or commitments that might have triggered either the peak positive or the negative emotions you're experiencing. So there's a place in your play sheet to do that. And you could just put a line down the middle if you want to jot both of them down. But after, and you can put, positive and negative in the respective columns. With this awareness, what you can do is highlight the positive experiences. I think this just makes it a little bit more fun. You're implementing already some great learnings. So after you list the positive experiences, begin to plan them for the year. Your calendar should be right nearby. So hopefully you could start mapping them out. For example, maybe you can set up some meetings with the people that evoked more positivity, whether it's professionally or personally, right? Your network, connections you want to make. Or just schedule the activities and commitments that you know you're going to enjoy. Oh, I love creating, cooking or certain things. I love salsa dancing. Put that in your calendar or decide you're going to commit to them. And if you really want to anchor it in, you can sign up for them and pay for them. I know I show up for my gym membership for a reason. As they say, most people don't use their free gym membership, right? So now with these learnings and perspectives you just uncovered, or if you're going through the process, you're uncovering them along the way. Again, tune in. Are there any new insights to list? Maybe there's something else coming up for you as you review all this information. And like I said, I know this can seem redundant to keep asking yourself that, but you know how you see information together, it just deepens a learning, or you see a new perspective, maybe a new focus, the more you're considering what happened. So throughout this process, just keep checking in with yourself. And remember, we learn from reflecting on our experiences. Every year I seem to have this one revelation that I did a lot more than I realized, right? Because at the end of the year, I'm like, didn't get to this. Why did I do this? And then when I reflect upon it and it's all on one page, it feels good. It feels better than what I felt before. So again, you can summarize all of this, your year on one page. You have your gratitude, your themes, your positive aspects, and any new insights. And you're going to keep this in mind as you go through the rest of the process. And just hope this clarity you're gaining and that you can review leads to some inspiration. Because again, when we're inspired, it leads to taking action, and with action, you'll get results. So now, to understand what can inspire you moving forward, we're going to consider additional questions. Actually, I'm going to pause really fast. I know I'm talking a lot. Are there any questions at this point? I'm happy to answer anything at the end too. I just thought I'd tune in. Okay. All right. So we're going to go through the next set of questions that'll help us take a look at how you've evolved, what you need to let go of, and what you want to take with you in the future, and how to create the kind of focus you need to experience what you desire. We only have so much time in the day, right? So we need this exercise to help us create priorities, because then you're more likely to be able to take action in the areas of your life that matter most to you and then get the results you desire. In fact, I'm on social media and I post quotes every Monday. And from the last year, the most popular quote, like thousands of likes, was one about what you can let go of to make space for things that will bring you more joy. So I just really feel like all of us know this is important. So hopefully this container is helping to remind you to do it. So you can now go to pages 7 and 8 in your handout. It should say, get inspired for the future. For the first question, ask, how are you different than the way you were before you tried to achieve that desired outcome? So notice it wasn't just about like, did you get it? What did you do? It's how are you showing up before versus now? For example, maybe you were more courageous, more vulnerable as you went for your new goals. Maybe you were more humble as you were given certain feedback. I feel like some of you shared that in the chat. You noticed a difference. So just check in with yourself. Did your energy shift in some way? I really love this question because it reminds us that life isn't just about what you do. It's really about who you're being. And remember, you are a human being, not a human doing. I love that reminder. Like, oh wait, I'm a human being. Next, you could ask yourself, what would you like to discard or release from the past? Are there any failures you like to move past, or any of those long-term desired outcomes that just are no longer relevant, right? We just keep moving them to the next year, but the reality is we don't really find them relevant anymore. Maybe it could be something as like taking things personally. I'm done with that. Maybe it's no longer putting everyone else first. Or as I like to say to my high achieving, loving clients, hey, can you start including yourself in the equation? Hey, I know it might be hard for you to put yourself first, but can we add you in? So again, remember, we can learn from our mistakes, but it's important to let go of the pain. If you hold on to it, if you're holding on and ruminating about something, you can just ask yourself, how can it serve you? Because maybe there's a reason you're holding on. More importantly, what does it cost you to hold on to that pain? Finally, ask yourself, what lessons at this point would you like to take with you as you move forward? So a big one for me was what I want in life can happen. It does happen, but not necessarily on the timing I want. So I think some of you can relate to that. So I learned to focus on what I desire, and I let go of that grip I had on how it unfolds and the timing it should unfold. And notice when you let go of the grip, you're going to feel happier and lighter. So here you can list maybe 3 or 4 ways that that's happened, or lessons that you've learned. And just trust yourself that others will come up if needed when you're reviewing this. And what I really want to remind you is that you're in choice. People think we are happiest when things happen the way we want. The reality is we are happier when we're in choice. And you can decide what you'll focus on. Is it like ruminating about the past, being upset, or is it about learning and moving forward? And your mind likes to think thousands and thousands of thoughts. That's what it does. That's what it was made for. But you use your conscious mind to decide what you want to focus on and ultimately how you want to feel. So speaking of focusing, at this point, you can ask yourself, if you're going through this process, what do you want to focus on in the future? Now that you've processed what happened. So I know we're going through this quickly, but some of you might be having some thoughts about, what could feel good? What could I focus on? It could be something you've identified from the questions or something that's totally new that's occurring to you in this moment. For example, for me, after doing all of this analysis, which can seem like so deep or heavy, one year I noticed I wanted to focus on connecting with my heart more over my mind. Very, very good. As one of my spiritual coaches tells me, I have a very well-developed mind. I know she doesn't mean that in a nice way. And she's very sweet. And I knew I wanted to make sure I'm connecting with people more in that heart-to-heart connection way. It was interesting because I've been doing this for years is I noticed the next year was more about like I elevated that focus to be all about love and to radiate it as much as possible in an authentic way in all areas of my life. And I love that because I know sometimes we get a little bit siloed, right? Oh, I'm at work, I'm going to be this way. I'm looking for a job, I'm going to be a certain way here, and I'm going to be a certain way with friends and family. And I just love that, hey, I could be this way everywhere. And I'm sharing this because in both of these cases, these focus areas came up for me in the last couple months of the year. But going through this process really affirmed it for me. Like I was feeling it already intuitively. I thought, yeah, I know what I want to focus on. But then I went through this process and I'm like, yes, it really got solidified. So I'm curious if there's anything you want to share that you might notice intuitively you want to let go of. Maybe you're not ready to share focus. If you are, that would be fun. But yeah, is there something you want to let go of? Oh, and yeah, I see it in the chat. Letting go is so important. It helps you move forward. Exactly. It's like, how can we move forward if we're weighed down? Or there's the saying, I'm terrible with sayings, but like, if you're looking in the rear view mirror, how can you be driving forward? So you're making room for your focus. Jen, you want to focus on gratitude this year. Beautiful. I hope you include yourself in that. Let's see. Anyone else? Anything you want to let go of? Like I did, I let go of that grip on timing. And another good one, I let go of getting approval from others. Oh, is there another one? Don't you try yet? Good, Jen. Maria, I'm making room. I'm purging personal stuff. Oh, I love that. You know what's so cool about that is when you're, working on your side, I hate to use the word working, but when you're tuning in, understanding what's going on in your life and there's shifts within and you've done some healing, your environment starts to shift. You get inspired to purge, to clean up because you've done the inner work. So that's beautiful. And then it becomes an iterative process where I know if my environment is decluttered, I start to feel even stronger. So good for you. Let go of regrets. Yes. Focus on physical and mental health. Beautiful. Carmelita, yes, that's great. So important. Thank you for sharing. Trusting my own actions and decisions. Wonderful. Good. So I hope it feels good to have some awareness around what you want to let go of so you can feel lighter. And feeling lighter always helps with being inspired, right? Just shake it off. I feel lighter actually reading these. Like, oh, these are great, right? I think we could all relate to these on some level. Always an opportunity to grow and learn. So let's talk about welcoming in the future. You can take all of this information about yourself and your awareness and create a unique mantra just for you to inspire your future efforts so they feel totally aligned with who you are and what you want to feel. So now we're going to look at the foundation of your mantra. And it's really what you just decided, if you're going through the process, what you decided to focus on in the last exercise at the end of page 8. Now, before you do this, before you create that mantra, again, I want to make sure you're connected with your higher self. When you feel like you are, you might need to do just some deep breathing, some grounding. Summarize, ideally in a single statement, what you want in the near future. Or it could be your biggest takeaway. And you could jot that down on page 8 where it says create it your way. And it could be the same or different than your exact focus. So if you picked a focus, it could be something related to that. It could be building on that. It could be summarizing the essence of your takeaway. For example, some fun ones could be enjoy my life and smile more. Trust myself and go for it. Sounds familiar, right, Marissa? Remember my vision and pursue it one day at a time. I know I used that one when I needed to slow down. It could even be one word or something that just evokes a feeling for you. And I'm sure this is obvious, but I'm just going to say, make sure the statement is positive, present tense, and powerful. And you want it just to feel like it's inspiring new possibilities for your life. This matters because our brain doesn't know the difference between a fantasy or reality. So making it present tense is really helpful to cement this in your subconscious mind. It's like, oh, this is happening. Oh, this is familiar. Okay. You're more likely to believe it. And some other examples of mine were like something very broad, like joy and connection. Another year was like, I can do what I want playfully and lovingly. I kind of just shared the one about the heart connections. I called it surrender to your heart connection, divine wisdom and love. And then I added for myself and others. And I love sharing this one because this is when I was much younger. But one year I made my mantra, make mistakes. This recovering perfectionist really needed that. And I would force myself, like it was so uncomfortable in my body, but I would make the mistake and nothing bad happened. So it's a great learning for me to really step into my power and have courage. So now I wanted to share how we can apply a little bit of this. Actually, is anyone coming up with a mantra they want to share? I know this is all new, but now I'm kind of excited. I thought, can put it in the chat if something's coming up. If not, I'll just keep going because I want to make sure we get through the rest of this. One I really love that was more recent is be love. Ooh, Maria, change, ready, set, go. That sounds so exciting. Like I just felt inspired reading that, right? I'm like, okay, let's do it. Thank you for sharing. And I love that. And, things happen. Let them. Oh, yeah. I recently heard that. Is it Mel Robbins talks about that? Let them. It's a good one. Yes. Keep thinking. Yeah. Ask for things I want. Yes. I ask for what I want. Could be that. Like that's the present tense, right? It's just, right. But, and then this is the key thing. Like, how did that shift your energy just saying that? Or I said it, but yes. Like, oh, I asked for what I want. That's the present tense. And then you can apply that for all areas of your life, professionally, personally. And after you've created your statement, again, you can make it your mantra, a guiding principle, and use it to inspire and inform your next level desired outcomes or goals. And whatever your mantra is, be sure to stay in integrity with that. And if you're not, right, if you're not asking for what you want, if you're not getting inspired to change, if you're not letting things happen or let them, it's okay. Just notice that how you feel. Are you veering away from your joy? See how you can just keep tuning into your energy or your emotion. Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to share this framework that I use to help me stay in integrity. It's on page 10 of your play sheet where it says, make it your mantra. And you can use it to plan out your year. And then you can use your mantra to consider how it can inform your priorities in life. And I personally like to look at my life in terms of quarters. Maybe that's because I was in corporate America for 18 years, or seasons, and maybe that's because I grew up in Chicago. But it's like there's these contained times that I could sort of look at. Pick whatever works for you. This is just one example, but you can map out different areas in your life that you want to prioritize. So if I go back to this is a tool I use with my clients. I ask them how happy and satisfied they are in each of these areas of their life, right? So first we were talking about, okay, if you have this mantra, how can it apply to all the areas? You can also evaluate, hey, how am I feeling in these different areas? What am I noticing? And then you could use these different areas of your life to map out what you want to focus on, but ideally aligned with the higher order mantra, right? If it's change, ready, set, go, ooh, which areas do I want to focus on? Now, you can always move these different life areas around as the year unfolds. This is all in pencil, nothing's written in stone. But having a plan or mapping it out actually gives you a sense of peace and being grounded. So that monkey mind and all those thoughts coming up, they can make you think, oh my God, I'm focused on my career now, but that means I don't have time for health. You know what? I'll get in what I can for health. I'll focus on that second quarter. So it's like you can put your mind at ease. I mean, I feel like you should try to focus on your health all the time, but understanding maybe you can't get to the gym as often as you want. It's okay. Because I know if there's something going on with my career, and I do think health can help process things, but you need to put the effort in. Put the effort in where you think it'll serve you and give you that ability to relax and some peace of mind. So hopefully this can help you stay more focused on the present moment versus ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. Yes, I love the wheel of life. Yeah, it helps to have a plan. I like to revisit it quarterly if I can. Just really good to tune in. So I know I threw a lot at you, and I just wanted to share some additional resources and tools for you that can help you take things to the next level. And I have two specific opportunities. Both are great resources, and they're both complementary. First, I want to share my favorite tips from my latest guide called From Vision to Reality. So I know we talked a lot and we added the mantra in the guide, but it could really also help to look at this particular guide because I share ways to take your mantra and make it a reality by ensuring you develop those goals you're excited about and that you can stay aligned with versus ditching them in a couple of weeks or months, which I know has happened. There was a comedian we all know this has happened, but her name, gosh, Rita Rudner, I don't know. She's an older comedian and she would say, just can't wait. I can't wait for March to roll around so I could stop pretending I'm going to do my New Year's resolutions. She's just like, why? But I have 7 tips in this guide that will help you tune in and develop your goals, there's actually a complimentary goal setting workshop linked in there. So you can just go in there, watch that workshop, aim to develop your goals, and then use the 7 tips to stay aligned with your goals throughout the year. And you could use these tips now or as a way to check in with yourself in the future. Because I know that's what I meant, like in a few months, like, hey, do these still align with me and what I desire? So that is one option. And you'll get these emailed to you, but I'll just put them in the chat if you want to grab them. That's the guide. Or I have a workshop coming up January 24th and 25th. It's called the Flow Framework. And it's an opportunity to really shift from constantly striving to thriving in your life. Really to get you away from burnout and overwhelm. And I put this workshop together to help you reclaim your energy. I'm all about energy. And if you could really tune in to what makes you feel alive and what drains you, it's really valuable. And then you could look forward and see what's truly possible. I also like to include really practical tools you can use. And again, you'll start flowing through your life versus what we sometimes do and we force ourselves. So there's a link to that. Actually, it's in the play sheet as well. And if you want to sign up, I have the link here. You should get it in the email as well. And it's Friday or Saturday, and you can just choose whichever day you want. And I feel like the timing's perfect for this and for any of these resources because it's a useful way to approach your goal setting, starting with your new mantra. Use that theme to inform and inspire the rest of the year, right? We don't want to force yourself to go for something. And as we go through the process specifically for the workshop, you might start seeing some blocks that you're experiencing or that hold you back from moving forward with your plan. So Flake just creates that container for you. And lastly, like I said earlier at the beginning, please feel free to sign up for a complimentary call. We can discuss results from this process to create your mantra. If you go through it and you have any questions, please let me know. Maybe there's some clarity that you're looking for. Oops. I think I've been, have you guys been getting, have you ladies been getting the link? Perfect. I just sent a direct message. Someone sent one to me, Marissa, what we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah, no,
but
Rosie,
yeah.
I have a question about, is the workshop virtual?
Yes,
Okay.
I should have mentioned that. Yes, they're both virtual, either day, trying to make it as approachable as possible. So that's why like Friday or Saturday, everyone's schedule, obviously very different. But yeah, reach out if you need some clarity or have any questions. And I hope you found this helpful. I'm just excited to welcome the new year with you. Hopefully you feel like you're doing it a little bit of a new way and that you stop waiting to feel happier until after you achieve a certain goal, right? And we get you to follow your joy and what makes you feel good to actually get results. And you go from chasing those goals to a life that allows you to, I like to think, gracefully and excitedly attain the results you adore in your life. So thank you for joining. Here's my contact information. Also, you can follow me on all the different social media sites. I post every other day. And like I said, I hope you feel like you have some inspiration for moving forward with happiness and ease and grace and joy. Nice to see everyone. If there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Rosie. I just wanted to remind you all that we were recording. So if you want to take your time and go back and really work through some of the worksheets, you'll have a chance to do that on your own. And we'll send a follow-up message with any of these things that Rosie just shared. And we hope to see you next month when we're going to have Susie, Fish Leader, is going to be doing a session for us about working moms, how to avoid burnout. So hope to see you there. And then Rosie will be back also in March. So we will have another great workshop with Rosie then. So thanks everyone so much for joining.
Thank you. Good to see everyone and be with you.
Sometimes I think people step away and then they,
Right. Do we just want to stop recording or and
yes,
then?
I am going to stop recording. There we go.